Hey y'all, it's your girl Krishan Cookie Dough. Welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always catch these vibes. And turn that post notifications so that way you get notified every time there's a biggity post. Child, that is a mouthful. Calling his thighs his booty, but that's a whole nother story. Speaking of stories, let's go ahead and get into the story time. We are gonna go over some things in regards to the lawsuits. So when I got discharged, they wouldn't. At first, they told me they wouldn't discharge me with my medical documents, and then it was after I got released, then they would send me my medical documents. And when I sent it in, I had to request it, call in, whatever, to request them, and then they mailed them out. Well, when I got my medical documents, one, they sent them in paper form, which is crazy because my medical documents is literally like over 400 pages. Over 400 pages, okay? And they sent it in paper form. And when I got it, the package was half ripped, right? So I went back to try to get electronic form maybe like a year or so later, right? And I was nervous. I did not want to go back because obviously, it's traumatic on the last time I was there, etc. And also at this time around, I did have my car and I didn't want to go back because I didn't want them to know what type of car I had. But I needed to get those medical documents in digital form. So I did just that. I went back and I tried to park as far as I could with it still being feasibly possible for me to get to the entrance. And I will say this, despite all this other nonsense, there was one black nurse in the parking lot who was nice enough to help me. She saw that I was struggling with my walker and went and grabbed a wheelchair to help push me in. When I got inside of there was a guy who was behind the counter for the medical documents, and I recognized his face from when I was admitted originally. And our encounter then wasn't the best. So because of that, the encounter here wasn't the best, right? And he was giving me a very hard time with trying to get my medical documents digitally. And then I expressed how I'd already submitted a form via email, etc. And then there was a woman in the back who was like, wait, yeah, I did see your documentation. I just saw your file, blah, blah, blah. And then she took over from that point, which I was very grateful for that because that dude was giving me a hard time. And I don't know how I saw him on I believe the main floor in the hospital. So I don't know how he went. I don't know how I saw him on the main floor in the hospital. He works in the records. It don't make sense how, I don't know. Um, but yeah, so I noticed also after that, my post office was not that far from there, right? And I noticed just a lot of weird things because again, I told y'all how there's actually a USC building near that location, right? So I noticed that there were a few times where nurses would be at, and again, it's like, okay, yes, it's right on the corner. But this one particular time, there was a nurse who was in his nurse's scrubs, driving a really, really nice car, um, who looked at me like he was very clear who I was, and he had an attitude. Like he had an attitude, and that was my first time ever seeing this nurse or doctor, whoever he was. He was driving a Maserati, and I was just like, okay. So not only are y'all giving me all the issues that y'all have given me as far as everything inside the hospital, and then as far as me trying to get my medical documents, they should have never been sent in the paper form. I should have got them digitally to begin with because obviously getting them in the paper form, it's very hard for you to go through. It's hard to keep a file and a record of everything. It's just, it can get lost. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of stuff. So they give me a hard time with trying to get the digital version. And now we just have random nurses giving me attitude as I'm gonna go pick up my mail. Like, okay. Um, and I don't know, and then, after that, after going up there, I started having a lot of issues where, again, it was clear that I was being followed. Um, and I'd be out, and just like I said, from a distance you can see people taking photos of me and all this other kind of stuff. So I don't think that it's a coincidence that after I went back to the very people that I'm suing, that went to that location, that now they are fully aware of the kind of car I drove. Because before then, I wasn't posting what kind of car I drove. I, like, may have, I had posted like something on the inside where you can kind of like guess what type of car, because Teslas, they have a little like clear thing, but you didn't know what the outside looked like or anything. And there's a lot of Teslas on the road, so you weren't 100% sure. But after that point, then it was very clear my license plate, and very clear the exact color, because at that point I did have my official license plates on. And then after that is when I started getting badgered a lot. So I don't think that that's a coincidence at all. And sorry, I did take a second. I cried and I fixed my makeup, because I was just like, I'm trying not to cry on video, but um, it is very annoying knowing the amount of trauma that they've caused, including trying to cover up a stroke. Like, they gave me a stroke, and every nurse that came to see me, the very first thing is, did they check you for a stroke? They check you for a stroke? And I never officially got checked for a stroke. But because, I don't necessarily, quote unquote, look like I had one, in the sense of like, okay, well, my left side of my face isn't drooping like tremendously. I did have tremors in this. Like, my left eye would, what do you call it, where the nerve in it would like pulse, like a muscle spasm or something, like in my eye, like, you know what I mean? And I feel it in my jaw. I would have muscle spasms all down in my arm, all down in my leg. Again, I was paralyzed on that side of my body. I peed on myself at the same time they gave me the medicine that caused a stroke, but I wasn't able to use restroom. So it's just like, just because I don't look like it doesn't mean that I didn't have one. And instantly, outside of everything else, with the sexual assault and everything, and that nature, and again, being questioned by the nurses in regards to social media and etc. When the stroke happened in the ICU, because the sexual assault and the stroke both happened in the ICU, then it was just like instantly, let's try to act like this didn't happen, and instantly try to discharge me from the hospital with, the left of my body being paralyzed. And I think that that's messed up, knowing that the stroke was caused from medicine, regardless of what I was getting the medicine for. The stroke was caused by medicine, and that is on USC hospital directly. And then for them to try to cover it up and then say, oh, everything is normal. How is everything normal when my hand and my foot were swollen to the degree that they were? And I didn't come in like that. My foot wasn't swollen when I went in. I was wearing regular shoes. I didn't have any issues with my feet when I went in. Like, so I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous. That, that medical staff, quote unquote, medical professionals could cause such a traumatic situation and then instantly try to act like it never happened, to try to refuse accountability. And that's whack. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that, but I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. They really have me effed up. Like, that's really fucked up. That's really fucked up. Like, they refused to allow me to charge my phone. Again, someone was kind enough to give me a phone charger because they didn't want me to take photos and stuff and have any type of documentation. They didn't want me to have any kind of proof of what happened. And had that person, not been kind enough to give me that, because I didn't have any memory left on my camera, I wouldn't have been able to get the photos of, my hand being swollen, of, me, well, I did have the photos of me and stuff on oxygen, etc. But I wouldn't have been able to document the fact that they tried to give me I still have memory on either way, I did have memory on my card left over, in the sense of like them trying to give me the ingredient multiple times, which is attempted murder. But even with that, I only had that space because someone deleted my initial video of me coming into the hospital wheezing and like having a really hard time breathing. And that would happen when I was away from my camera getting one of these 50 million tests that they try to say